that is sheer, total brutality. That's child abuse.
People were in awe of him, and people were frightened of him. He was the boss. He was the dictator. He could order anyone to do anything on board.
Do you use drugs in any way?
No, never. No drugs.
Besides Hubbard's association with illicit and prescription drugs, there are witnesses who report seeing numbers of blank prescription notes just waiting to be filled. Ron had a penchant for both booze and cigarettes. Eyewitness accounts record that Ron could drink with the best of them and operate quite well under excessive amounts of booze, possibly indicating the aid of bennies or other stimulants in order to keep himself functioning. As for smoking, L Ron is said to have smoked upwards of 4 packs a day and had the following advice for his followers, many of whom chain smoke in imitation of their main man, Ron Hubbard. Ron claimed that the nicotine in cigarettes would turn into nicotine acid, a component of vitamin B, which would drive out radiation from the body, including forms of cancer. He recommended cigarettes as a way for people to recover their health in the event of a nuclear war.
Ron's nubile teenage female messengers would follow him around with an ashtray and smokes, lighting a fresh cigarette at his chain-smoking lips as another was just butted in the ashtray.
There would be 6 messengers on duty when he was filming. One would hold his chair, one would hold a packet of cigarettes, and as soon as she saw that the cigarette he had was going out, would have to light another and give it to him. One held the ashtray, one held his pen, and so on. There were 6 of them round him. One of them was put on the humiliating rehabilitation project force, where she probably served for several months because she didn't get a chair there fast enough.
The Commodore's messengers.
They took care of everything for him. They dressed him, they got him ready for bed, they lit his cigarettes, they held his ashtray.
And most of the messengers are young girls, 13, 14, 15. They were an extension of his communication. So when somebody saw them on a ship or they came up to them, it was like you were talking to him.
On one occasion, Jerry Armstrong, who'd been sent on a shore errand, was visited by one of Hubbard's messengers.
This was Terry, who was later to be my wife, and she came to me where I was working, and she said, the Commodore wants to know, is it true that you went to the U.S. Embassy and applied for 30-some-odd visas? And I said, yes, sir, because that's how you respond to the messenger. And her next message was, the Commodore says you're a fucking asshole.
Nobody could say Ron was afraid of the needle. In his earlier years, Ron suffered a recurrent bout of venereal disease for which he took sulfur. He feared this had affected his libido in the most detrimental way, and later in his life he would inject himself with testosterone, recording in his affirmations,
"Testosterone blends easily with your own hormones. Your glands already make plenty of needed testosterone, and by adding to that store you make yourself very thrilling and sexy. Testosterone increases your sexual interest and activity. It makes erection easier and harder and makes your own joy more intense. Stilbestrol in 5 milligram dose makes you thrill more to music and color and makes you kinder. You have no fear of what any woman may think of your bed conduct. You know you are a master. You know that they will be thrilled. You can come many times without weariness. The act does not reduce your vitality or brain power at all. You can come several times and still write. Intercourse does not hurt your chest or make you sore. Your arms are strong and do not ache in the act. Your own pleasure is not dependent on the woman's. You are interested only in your own sexual pleasure. If she gets any at all, that's all right, but not vital. Many women are not capable of pleasure in sex, and anything adverse they say or do has no effect whatsoever upon your pleasure. Their bodies thrill you. If they repel you, it merely means they themselves are too frigid or prudish to be bothered with. They are unimportant in bed, except as they thrill you. Your sexual power is magnificent, and they know it. If they are afraid of it, that is their loss. You are not affected by it.
According to statements made by attorney Michael Flynn, Hubbard, until at least February of 1980, filled out fraudulent doctor's prescription for a large array of medical drugs for himself. It was shown in the Armstrong trial in Los Angeles in 1984 that Hubbard even had blank prescription slips from the U.S. Navy, one of which had a prescription for phenobarbital, a barbiturate and hypnotic, written in Hubbard's handwriting.
One can only speculate what drugs Ron was taking when he came up with the following concept of body thetans and discussed his out-of-body visitations to other planets.
But although I don't think you'd have very much pleasure out of kissing a girl from Jupiter, that's a heavy gravity planet. If you stepped on the planet Jupiter in one of these meat bodies that you presently have, you would become a pancake promptly, you see. And what atmosphere it has lies in seas of liquid air and so on. We might say this is somewhat rigorous as an environment, not completely similar to Russia, but well, so you do get these various variations. And it's not all that horrifying, however. You find somebody running around planet Jupiter, he'd be built to withstand that climatic condition and that gravitic condition and so forth, and his legs might be a bit modified and his arms and that sort of thing, but he probably would look like an Eskimo.
I was up in the Van Allen belt. This is factual, and I don't know why they're scared of the Van Allen belt, because it's simply hot. You'd be surprised how warm space is.
Hubbard said he had discovered secrets of the universe so powerful they could only be heard by Scientologists who would spend hundreds of hours studying his programs. Anyone else would be struck dead by the knowledge. He told stories of how 75 million years ago an evil tyrant collected beings on other planets to be stored in volcanoes on Earth.
Boxed them up in boxes, threw them into space planes. DC-8 airplane is the exact copy of the space plane of that day. And no difference, except the DC-8 had fans, propellers on it, and the space plane didn't.
The upper-level courses are called OT, which stands for Operating Thetan, Hubbard's word for the spirit. The OT levels are supposedly so powerful that you can die of pneumonia if you're exposed to them unprepared.